All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order, 5:03. Roll call, Commissioner Tebow?
Here.
Commissioner Christian Sheedy?
Here.
Commissioner Witter?
Here.
And Commissioner Dennis Sheedy is present. Agenda item number 1, minutes from the January 21st, 2020 meeting.
I'll make a motion the minutes be approved as written.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tebow, a second by Commissioner Christian Sheedy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Agenda item number 2, February financial statements 2020.
I had one question on this. I think I might have asked at the last meeting that we have a $33,000 accounts receivable under 400 program.
Yeah, and some of those large balances that I have to write offs.
So we have the 33,000 in doubtful tires, which seems high. It does almost wash it out for about $90, $80. When are we going to do the write-offs?
I have to schedule that. Usually I'd like to do it at, I know you can do it more often, but I was figuring by year end,
Okay.
year end, 31st and April 1st.
Yeah.
A large amount of that, 15,000 is just one account.
One account?
Yeah,
I think I might have asked that.
yeah.
Typically, how often do you
There is no
adjust them off?
guideline. Now you can do it. It used to be where you had to do it within the year.
You get it
Yeah.
annually.
Oh, once a year,
Annually,
yeah.
but now you can do it more frequently if you need to.
Any other questions or concerns?
I'd like to make a motion that we receive and place on file the February year end from the accountant. I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Christian Sheedy, a second by Commissioner Witter. Any further discussion? All in favor? Sorry.
Just that all programs, even with that doubtful accounts, all programs are positive.
Yeah.
All in favor, I'm sorry about that, Shannon.
Yes,
else?
aye. Sorry.
Aye. Yep,
Aye. Did you call for a vote?
he did.
Sorta, kinda.
Whoops.
All right. Agenda item number 3, February warrant approval in the amount of $187,098.58.
I'll make a motion that we accept the February 2020 warrant for $169,794.11.
I'll second that motion.
Oh.
All right, the agenda item says 187,098, and the warrant says 169,794.
Oh, it's the 169. I apologize for that.
All right, so the
So the
motion
agenda-
was correct.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Wood, a second by Commissioner Christian Sheedy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Agenda item number 4, audit report year-end in 3/31/2019. Russell Knapp and Michael Guider from Markham will be here for questions.
Thank you very much. Do you want me to present from here? Do you want me to present just with the camera?
However you're comfortable.
Sure. So thank you for having us. This was our first year doing the authorities audit. As Markham, we're actually, I believe, the third auditor in 3 years after Tom Flaherty last year and John Ross the year prior to that. So we'll hopefully hope for some consistency, continuity after this year. The financial statements that are presented to you for the year ended March 31st, 2019 are presented with an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. So that is to say, clean report. The financial statements are fairly stated and presented in accordance with GAAP. The audit also provides a report on compliance with federal programs. That report is qualified. There is one finding on eligibility specific to the Housing Choice Voucher Program. That is detailed towards the end of the report, I believe on page 55. And the gist of that finding, the condition arose from our examination of the authority's Housing Choice Voucher resident files. There were limited exceptions, but enough to where the exceptions were frequent enough that it required us to report the finding and qualify our opinion. However, Kathy did provide a fairly detailed corrective action plan. Based on that response and based on the nature of this particular finding, we would expect that it's a finding that could be cleared in the next year, assuming that our testing results come back clean. So I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't at this point. The corrective action plan does follow that finding on page 57. And that was the only matter disclosed in this report. Otherwise, going back to the financial statements, if you were to refer to page 14, which is the statement of net position, page 14 now discloses a total OPEB liability, which is your liability for post-employment health insurance benefits, of $1.3 million. In the prior year, prior to the adoption of GASB 75, the liability was approximately $500,000. It was being amortized over a period of 20 to 30 years. GASB 75 came about requiring that the authority record the entire amount of the liability, and of course, you've already been reporting the net pension liability, which is $841,000. So the authority has long-term payroll liabilities of approximately $2.1 million. That is causing equity to show a deficit position of $1.7, $1.8 million, which is presented at the bottom of the page. That deficit may lead some readers to believe that the authority is experiencing some kind of financial difficulty. However, when we're analyzing an authority's financial statements, it's typically not the equity position that we're looking at to evaluate financial health. These are, the long-term liabilities that are creating these deficits are really liabilities that have existed ever since the inception of post-employment health insurance and pension. They've only just in the last 10 or so years been recorded on the balance sheet. So the authority on a year-to-year basis just continues to make the required contributions to the pension and required contributions for retiree health insurance. That is certainly an obligation, but it's one that's spread out over a long period of time. So to really get a better idea of the authority's financial position, we typically look at current assets and current liabilities. The authority had unrestricted cash at the end of March 31st, 2019 of $650,000 and current liabilities of $142,000. That would give you a current ratio in excess of 4. You at least want to be over 1, so you're well above that benchmark. On page 15, on the income statement, in the middle of the page, you're showing an operating loss of $296,000 for fiscal year 19. However, included in that number is depreciation expense of $276,000. So you're much closer to a break-even point. It would show a loss of approximately $20,000 for the fiscal year, but you certainly have sufficient reserves, as I just mentioned, to absorb that loss.
Is that by program or is that,
It's in totality.
in totality, okay.
The adoption of both GASB 68, which was a few years ago, and GASB 75 last year, resulted in an expansion of the note disclosures that are in the notes to the financials. And probably some of the more useful note disclosure would be some of the sensitivity analysis that's included in notes 10 and 11. And I'll just point that out real quick. So if you refer to page 32, both the pension liability and the OPEB liability are highly sensitive to changes in the assumptions that are used by the actuaries in their valuation of the liabilities. And so you can see on page 32 for the pension that if the actuary were to reduce the discount rate used in determining the present value of that liability, if they were to decrease that rate, the authority's liability would increase by almost $300,000. This past year at 7.75%, the discount rate used for the pension is fairly high in comparison to other pension systems. I would expect that to decrease at least to 7.25% or 7.5%. That will increase that liability. And
So why do they have such a high discount rate?
the discount rate is tied to the average rate of return on investments. And before say 10 years ago, a discount rate of 7 or 8% would have been extremely high because market returns were not, anywhere near 7 or 8%. They've been much better recently, but it's always a matter of trends. And with the way the markets are going now, there could be, if there is a trend over the next few years that's in a downward direction, then that could put pressure on reducing that discount rate.
But in comparison to other pensions, this one's high.
It's just a little high.
Okay.
It's a little bit high. And even though the long-term liability is going to be a big number no matter what is important and what you can gauge from some of the supplemental information, if you were to go to page 39, page 39 is eventually going to present 10 years of data. Right now it's presenting 4 years, beginning with 2015, which is the first year that some of this information was available in a usable format. So this presents the authority's proportionate share of the Bristol County Retirement System liability, and it also shows how well funded the retirement system is. So back in 2015, it was just under 66% funded. Now it's at 63.48. It's had some fluctuations up and down over that 4-year period. The objective of the retirement system is to ultimately get to 100% funded. So if the discount rate is trending downwards, which is going to force your liability overall to go up, then the funded position of the pension plan overall may require that periodically over time they increase the required contribution. And the required contribution has increased from 2015 when it was 38,000 to 88,000 in 2018. So it does, even though we kind of work around the effect on equity of these of these large liabilities, there is a real cash flow impact with the ongoing contributions. So to the extent that the retirement system stays in a range of 60 to 70%, there's going to be more pressure on the retirement system to increase those required contributions in order to trend towards a 100% funded situation. And so probably the difference between the the authority generating a cash surplus on a year-to-year basis versus generating cash deficit really comes down to these contributions. But I would say that from our experience with public housing authorities in Massachusetts, that at the mid 60% funded ratio is more or less the average. There are some retirement systems that are higher, but not by much.
Can I ask you actually two questions? One,
Sure.
the 38,000 to 88,000, the $50,000 jump. Do you know of any reason why that happened? Was it a huge change in discount rate, or?
I think that was a planned change by the retirement system to increase the appropriation.
And then I had heard at one time that the dates have changed, but I thought the most recent I heard that there was some legislation to have them fully funded by 2033. Does that sound?
I think that the original, I think that the intent for the last 10 to 15 years has been to have these plans funded by the mid 2030s.
Okay. All right.
So happy to answer any other questions.
And with the benefit rate for just that, does that 30.13%?
That is 30.13% of total salaries, yes.
So that's just retirement, and then we would add on current health and whatever other benefits we have.
Right. Your, I don't have a number on your OPEB contributions as a percentage of total payroll, but it's at least, I would say it's probably at least as much as 88,000. So your benefit rate is between probably 60 and 75%
Right.
of total salaries.
I saw we had 5 employees and 8 retirees. Is that typical for an authority our size?
Probably for an authority of your size. Yeah, it just all depends on what the mix is and how long retirees.
So if we just, this is a conceptual, if we were to say we could manage with 3 employees and now we had 11 retired, would that percentage go up? Would that dollar amount go up? Well, the percentage would go up, wouldn't it?
You would certainly continue to have an obligation, but with 2 fewer employees, you would have less salary.
Okay, all right.
And it's hard to as a housing authority to do more with less when you're already doing more with less. But I think
that's on tape.
Yeah. But I think that it's certainly is worth noting when when you have mandates for certain systems, like state waiting lists, for example, the housing authorities would certainly benefit from being asked to do less, not more.
Sure, our employees are part-time.
No, I wasn't looking for that. I mean, this OPEB thing has gone from, it's just a below the operations line, don't pay attention to it, to, hey, this could really cripple operations in years to come, especially if we have the market really tank and, so.
Right. And your OPEB plan isn't funded, which most aren't. So that liability that you see on the balance sheet is going to come. The funds to pay for it are solely going to come from ongoing operations.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a mechanism in place that annually when you're doing the year end, you're looking at your net profit and you take into consideration this liability and I mean, just some kind of flag that says, don't forget about this liability, what can you do to knock it down?
All you can do is actually put funding towards it.
Right. Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to knock it down other than start saving proactively.
So I have seen, so we get our bill and you pay it, and it's usually a painful bill to get. So
Yes.
I don't know, could you pay more?
Well, you're only paying as you go. So if you were to set up an irrevocable trust, you could make contributions to that as an asset. And it's most housing authorities are reluctant to do it because you know that you have other needs.
Yes.
So what needs do you take care of first? I think right now there's a kind of a general expectation that the funding streams will continue to be there, but I think that housing authorities eventually will be forced to try and identify efficiencies where there haven't been, or maybe haven't looked before. But right now, I think is a difficult time to accomplish that because you're being asked to do so much from a regulatory standpoint.
It could eventually just have to be a subsidized item
Yep.
by the state.
Yep. Yep.
So, and then they raise taxes.
Well, you mentioned the waiting list, the new burden that's been placed on housing authorities with the new CHAMP waiting list. And I was looking at the page 46 and doing some math, and I thought, this is an unusually high. I think they come up with an average of 80, and I thought that's unusually high. And I said, well, that's because of CHAMP, because it's slowing down the vacancies.
Yes.
Filling vacancies, and it's just, I think that was where it was, that I was looking at a lot of the pages that,
Yeah.
but it slows things down.
It does, and there are a lot of authorities that are voicing concerns about the ability to fill units when vacancies arise, and you certainly have a lot of individuals and families that have been on waiting lists for extended periods of time that have an immediate housing need, and the authorities are somewhat hamstrung in being able to do what they otherwise
Act
would have done
quickly.
fairly easily in the past. And David Hedison in the Mass Narrow newsletter wrote a column specifically about that. So I think as a group, I think there's a lot of frustration, and I would like to see that there's some action taken, but it needs, there's only, there's one agency in particular that is responsible for that, and they need to hear what's being said and do something with it.
Legislative day was yesterday for Mass Narrow. I wasn't there, but I know that the approach was to get really in there and talk to legislators about how this is hamstringing us to, we can't do what we used to be able to do. Our vacancy time has increased, we're losing income. There's a really nice presentation that Donna Brown, Director of Mass Narrow, put together. She did a survey of all the housing authorities and asked a lot of those crucial questions. What used to be your turnaround time? What is your turnaround time? What are you losing? How many people are you going through? What's the cost to the authority, the staff, and it's mind-blowing. So I don't know, I know Kathy was there, so she might be able to speak to if there was any more of a discussion about it with the legislators, but we're really trying to make the case.
A lot of legislators were not there. Like I said, there were a lot of empty seats. I know quite a few were sick. David did get up and speak, and was very inspirational to our mission. So I know Brian Holman was there, who's always been a big advocate for housing authorities, but nobody from the HCD ever really was there. So,
They usually don't show up.
yeah, I know.
They don't answer the phone either.
Just that you mentioned David's article, I recommend the other board members read it if you haven't. It's something about Mary, I'll call it, okay?
Yeah.
What it does is take a fairly complex system and turns it personal. I've given it to all the board members in Brockton, Abington, and Hanson because I
Yeah.
think it really takes it into,
I've given it to mine too.
turns into
I've
a
sent
real...
it to Rep. Strauss, and I'm sending it to Senator Montigny's office as well. So that's what we all have to do. We all have to start bending their ears and telling them that it's really hurting.
But I want to let you know from the legislative day that the legislative people that I spoke to are very responsive. I actually spoke to a couple earlier last week. Some were sick and some had meetings, but they are all supporting it because they want to take care of you, to be quite honest with you. They understand that local residents are getting the short end of the stick there.
And that was the reason that a housing authority was formulated.
Right.
How many years ago? 1952? That's the main purpose.
So we're not broke.
Yeah.
And I do want to say,
Yeah.
Kathy told me yesterday, because I did go to the meeting, that on the issue on the Section 8, that she is going to proactively have audits on a regular basis of the work. So that when you come in next time, it won't be the first time anybody's looking at it, right? It'll be looked at
Correct.
over, and there'll be the remedial
Yes.
work on it. So, and I read your letter, and move forward. It's a very complex program that,
It is.
Changes all the time.
It's only getting more complex.
It is.
All the
And
programs
a lot of
are.
it's open to interpretation.
Yep.
But I want to thank you, Russell. I got your email. I haven't opened it up yet, but thank you very much. I don't know what the heck I could have done with that, but I have a folder. It's just not in it. And I'm not, by the way, I keep getting these emails that come in for drinks into Boston with Markham. Are you guys going?
Yeah. We've had staff have been making it, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gone.
Yeah.
Looks nice.
I think they might be canceling them for at
I
least
think-
temporarily.
Yep.
It's too bad to hear that the Seacrest was canceled.
Seacrest is moved
Yeah.
to September, yeah. I just, I turned this phone off.
I
My
didn't
son
see that.
in Maryland is being told to go home. My
Yeah.
other son in Amherst is being told to go
Oh,
home.
wow, yeah, yeah.
I don't want them home, they're sick.
Gotta get those grocery store. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Great presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
So do we need
Say
to
your
accept
turn.
this or approve it
Say
or
your
anything?
turn.
No?
Oh, that shows.
I don't
There's a motion to accept and put on file?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tebow, a second by Commissioner Christian Sheedy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, agenda item number 5, resident service grant request funding results.
I don't know who got funded for this.
I guess there's going to be an announcement.
There was a meeting with the Housing Committee, and that was asked, and they said they would provide it. They were quite frank. They said that there were many good applications not funded because they don't have enough money for it, and that there were good applications that should be funded. And I used that yesterday speaking to the legislators that I spoke of. It asked for the increase of the $6 million in operating funds, a couple million of that. I think a couple million.
Yeah, we're trying to earmark it specifically for resident service coordinators.
Yes.
Right, but the numbers are astronomical. There's 30, David said it yesterday, 36 servicing, so 36 authorities servicing, 36 applications servicing over 15,000 residents.
Yes.
So 15,000 to 36, I don't know what that ratio is. It doesn't sound very, sounds
Like
like,
it's going to work very well.
well, no, you're going to be outnumbered. You'll have to deal with the,
Yeah.
with the
1
number.
in 5, isn't it?
Let's see. 36,000. No, I'm sorry, it was 15,000.
Divided by 36,000, it was 15,000 by 36, right?
416 people per person. So it's a lot of work, but it's better than 0 to 15,000.
Right, but unfortunately, I believe it's part-time too, it's not a full-time
Yeah.
position, so then you take that and cut it.
Well, no, that's based on them sharing. So
Yeah.
that's
So you
416.
get a few hours,
Yeah.
yeah.
How many people in Norton? So we have 200 here, I'm using round numbers. How many people?
Probably a little less than us, around 170.
170, so
Yeah.
if you would have had one
Yeah.
person taking care of about the
Mhm.
same amount of time.
Yes.
But hopefully we'll get,
I'm sure there'll be another round with any luck, and we'll apply again.
yeah.
Plus, don't you still have Old Colony Elder Services doing what they can to help out?
They have Meals on Wheels site and they have a lunch site, but they don't do a lot of other,
They do programs, they'll do
those
like
are
seminars.
typically at
things.
the senior center.
Okay.
All right, we're waiting on the roll, agenda item number 6, the HILAP grant update.
Just go from one frustrating thing to the next.
This is very frustrating, this.
Can someone explain to me?
That'd be me.
Okay, thank you.
So, and the HUD 1 form is behind it too. When we closed on Quantico, at the time of the closing, I was informed by the director, I believe that's his title, the planning director of the Affordable Housing Trust, that our Affordable Housing Fund grant had been cut because they purchased Paquonicket Ave from us. At no time did I realize them purchasing Paquonicket would affect the amount of money they were giving us to purchase a replacement property.
I seem to remember asking that question.
And it was never indicated until it was like briefly mentioned at closing. So I went back and forth. Paul McPartland, the DHCD, has been very good. We went back and forth. HILAP grant was a matching funds grant. So the Affordable Housing Trust did have to guarantee us that they were going to give us some money. At the time, he said it was $90,000. Wayne had said that. I told Paul McPartland, DHCD is still going to award us the HILAP funds, less the money we've already spent on the architect when we were developing Paquonicket. We were going back and forth. I believe it was close to 30,000.
32,000.
Yeah. So we will be getting the funds from Paquonicket, roughly $225,000. The $90,000 from the Affordable Housing Trust, which actually Wayne had sent me an email, and they voted to approve $91,000.
95. Yeah, it's in Wayne's email from March 5th, it's
I'm sorry.
95.
It's number 7.
And our leftover funding from the HILAP, which is the one, I believe it was 134.
117,950 is what's left.
Nope. Yeah, that was a rough, I think it's closer to 134. 132,565. is the HILAC funding that we're going to be receiving, so roughly around $448,000. I did meet with Meredith and Jessica, because we've had a rolling RFP out there for people to submit proposals for us to purchase their property, which we received none. But they are going to actively work with some of their clients and see if there's anybody out there. I mean, there is some criteria, so no swimming pools, a lot of the properties have swimming pools, we can't have that. Preferably not a garage, it's just one more item to maintain. But,
Preferably no fireplace either.
well, I thought about that, but we can deactivate a fireplace very easily. The maintenance guys know how to do that, because I've talked to them about that. So we can easily.
But do your residents know it's deactivated
It would be,
before they
yeah.
light it?
Yes, absolutely. We would make sure it would be deactivated and not able to be used. So I met with them 2 weeks ago Friday, and I haven't heard any more. But I know the housing market's hot right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little while before we can find a replacement for this property.
So there isn't a time frame by which if we don't get any responses to our RFP that we can then be more assertive in terms of pursuing something that fits?
My understanding from Paul is no. However, this goes through June. The last rolling RFP is through June. As we approach June, I will address it with him at that time.
Didn't the HILAP come prior to any commitment from the Affordable Housing Trust?
No, we had to have matching funds in order to get the HILAP award.
And we did, we matched. Affordable Housing Trust matched.
Actually, the Affordable Housing
It
Trust
exceeded.
did far more. Yeah, they exceeded.
180.
Right. Yeah. But it was a matching grant. That's why, unless they were going to give us the money, DHCD wasn't going to give us the remainder of the HILAP.
Do they understand, does Paul and DHCD understand that Affordable Housing Trust bought quantity?
Yes, I've told them, and I told them what they're doing with it. And they're
And
also
that there
aware,
were two proposals received?
yes, and the other one was only 120,000. Yes,
And
they're
that,
fully aware.
yeah, but they don't seem to want to acknowledge it. They're aware, but they pretend like it doesn't happen.
So it's almost like if the AHC had made an offer of 140, you know, a little bit above the other two offers, 132, and then given us the other money in the grant, then that would have appeased DHCD. I mean, it's absurd.
And it's not the town's issue.
The town of Easton's been very good to
Yes.
this authority and to that property. It's,
Absolutely, and I even said to them how the community preservation awarded us the funding for the roofs, and they've awarded us funding in the past. They've been very generous, and they don't want to burn that bridge at all. And they're aware. But I
No,
mean,
say
right
it, because
now-
who do you think is going to match your HILAP grants in the future?
Mhm.
Keep scorching the town.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I mean, I
Town's in a
think with the money we
wise
have, I'm confident we're gonna be able to get something. It's just the time frame right now, with the market getting hotter and the interest rates dropping, and we're approaching spring. It might be more difficult. The benefit we have is we're a cash buyer. Our home inspections can be done by our maintenance men on the drop of a dime. They have that ability,
good.
so.
are they certified?
I'm not certified, but I don't know that you have to be certified. We're not dealing with a mortgage company or a bank.
Yeah, well, that might be money well spent, but
Yeah.
we can
Same
cross
set
that
of
out
eyes.
Yeah, when we come to
when we
that,
get to
absolutely.
it.
But I will say, when the Affordable Housing Trust purchased a piece of property, Meredith was very helpful in not convincing, but explaining to the sellers and the piece that we were a cash buyer.
She is great.
And she made that come together for Affordable Housing Trust.
And she's been good to us as well with foregoing her commission on this. And she's did put a lot of work into it.
She does work very
Yes.
hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
But I still am a little aggravated, or maybe I should say more than a little, with the state and the fact that they're like continuing to hold the town's feet to the fire.
Yes.
It's like the town's done more than their share.
correct, I agree.
And it's almost like the more the town does, the more the state wants.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say that you have somebody that's watching the market, the real estate market to find a house? Somebody's actively looking to find a
Well, the
replacement?
realtor that we use to sell the Quonicut has copies of the RFP for requests for people to purchase, and they will
Okay.
be helping on that end as well, because somebody would have to physically fill out the paperwork and submit a proposal to the board to accept or reject a proposal for us to purchase their property, just as we did when we sold Quantico. So they can mention that to people, because we only had to advertise once. And we advertised all the rolling dates, and that was back in November. And we received no proposals, but they can mention it to their clients and see if there are any clients that are interested.
In the meantime, there's no one that's actively looking for a house to replace, looking for one that we can purchase?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking every day.
You will? Oh, okay.
Well, I haven't looked in a week and a half, it's been a little busy. But, yeah, they send me the alerts.
Oh, okay.
And there were 3 properties actually I thought were great, but they were already contingent. As soon as they hit the market, they were gone.
Yes,
So
it
that's
moves
going to be a
quickly.
problem.
Yeah, okay.
So, it is a hot market.
Yeah.
When you started, I thought you said that she was acting as our agent to purchase, no?
No,
No, okay.
she'll be working for the client. We are on our own, but we've worked with them. We have the RFP. She has clients out there. Any realtor can pick up one of these packets and give it to their clients.
If you advertise those, sorry. If you advertise back in November, would the realtors still realize that this is ongoing and open, or?
I can drop more packets off to other realtors. They should, I mean, it had rolling dates. When we advertised all the dates.
This is not attractive though for a realtor. So I think they're gonna have to actually have it almost over, hung over their heads repeatedly. I know Meredith obviously has a bazillion friends in business.
And
So I don't know.
she's mentioned, I think you could see her wheels turning when I met with her. So I'm pretty confident in her and Jessica and just in Caldwell Banker. Anyhow,
Yeah, because they do have a lot of very successful agents. But still getting back to DHCD, I still would like to kind of make them understand that we are not happy about what they're, at this point, telling us we need to do. Or that they're not going to contribute anything more because the town's not cutting what they believe to be the required amount. I think they're way off base.
well, they are contributing the remainder of the highlight.
I know,
And it's
but
not-
they've already
it's above,
spent
right.
200 and how much? 235 to buy the house?
Oh, yes, the
Affordable
affordable housing
Yeah.
trust, yes,
Yeah.
yes, I've been following you.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I cannot believe they're being this ridiculous.
Yes.
It doesn't belong to the town, it belongs to the housing authority. This is a state unit.
And what would happen to those funds if we couldn't find anything? I'll be honest, that's a
Oh, that's
question I
not
haven't
good, yeah.
asked because I almost don't want to know what the answer is. I know there's some legislation being passed right now. I think they discussed it yesterday at Legislative Day about being able to retain those funds, but I know it hasn't been passed at this point.
You think they're posturing? Oh, no.
If we just sold it,
Yeah.
it would go back to the treasury.
So we're going to actively try to find a replacement. And like I said, the benefit of us is we're a cash buyer.
Exactly, and that's a huge plus.
So our
Okay.
budget stands at,
448, just about, which isn't bad.
I'm still thinking though that we need to make it really clear to the department, either in writing or with a meeting with the board, and let them know that we're very unhappy with their scenario here and the fact that they think that the town has to buy this house. And if they don't want to rally to the cause or listen to what we have to say, then I think we go to Claire Cronin or any of the other legislators and say, you need to,
they showed an ingratitude. DHCD was showing an ingratitude to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Well, you remember our meeting with Ben Stone. That didn't go so well.
No.
either.
but I always feel like they think the buck stops with them, and I just want them to know that I don't think it stops with them, even though they want it to.
Right.
they think they're the end all be all and that they can make all these requirements and statements and just frost me.
Oh, I wasn't happy, that's why I was going back and forth with them.
And I have stepped back from any of these meetings and haven't had a whole lot to say because
Right.
I sit in two places, and I know Affordable Housing Trust came up with that. They did come up with another 5. So I feel like they're trying,
Oh, they are trying, absolutely.
but their funds are tapped.
Mhm.
So it's like, I cannot believe that they're pulling this. In case you didn't get that. So that's the only thing I'm suggesting, and I don't know what the rest of the board feels about that, but I'd like to make it real clear.
I guess we gotta see though how it plays out. If we have a house that comes in under, then we don't have an issue at all, that it's.
Correct. And,
In this hot market, you are not getting a house that's coming in under, that somebody's gonna say, here, I'd like you guys to buy this.
well, I don't know, now with everything going on with the economy, we might, because now I think even though rates have dropped, people might be a little more apprehensive because of what's going on with the stock market and jobs
Possibly.
and whatnot, so I agree with the chairman a little bit, we might want to wait this out a bit and just see what happens.
What are the requirements in this 448 three-bedroom?
There is no bedroom stipulation, the house we lost was 2-bedroom, it was the only 2-bedroom unit we have.
But don't we have to satisfy, to fill that need again?
No,
We're not
it can
required.
be any bedroom size.
Okay.
We don't want a pool. A lot of these properties have
Right.
swimming
I
pools.
heard you go through the others.
Preferably not a lot of property because typically it's a single parent trying to raise their kids and I think it's not a good idea for them to have a big yard to have to maintain.
Right.
Preferably not a garage and the fireplace definitely would make it operable. But if they didn't have a fireplace, that would even be better in moving condition. Because we can't afford any prevailing wage rates or anything to that. Unless it's work that, for instance, paint and whatnot, that our maintenance crew couldn't handle easily.
Okay. Wish list.
Yeah.
So I do think it'd be nice if we maintain a 2-bedroom, because
It's hard finding a 2-bedroom home.
it is very hard finding a 2, and there are a lot of people that's all they would technically qualify for.
I'm finding more now, even though you have 2 children, you need the 3-bedroom even if they're the same sex because they have emotional needs.
Yeah, I know.
I'm finding the needs for 2 bedrooms getting less and less.
Okay.
At least what our experience is here.
Because we only have 1 2-bedroom in Fairhaven, and it's handicap accessible, so we have like nothing to offer.
We have one
A single
accessible-
parent with 2 kids, and
Yeah.
they're same
We,
sex.
we do have one handicap accessible unit, which is 10% of our family stock, so we don't need another handicap.
No, and I'm not looking for
Yeah.
handicap, I'm just saying that's the only 2 we have to offer, and we often have to turn people away basically by saying, we don't have anything to fill your needs. I mean, you could fill out an application, but it's
Right.
somewhat pointless.
So I just want to make sure I have the number. Right now, if we were to spend the 90,000 in the High Lap Award and the proceeds, we're looking at, what was the number, 400?
448,
448?
Yeah,
it's
So
95.
that wasn't including the additional 5,
additional 5,000?
right, from the Affordable Housing Trust.
Oh, okay.
I added the 90.
Okay, so 453, something like that. So that's what we're looking at in the market.
Yes.
If we go above 453, DHCD is saying they're not going to increase the high lap, we have to take it from formula funding. And we-
Which I don't think that's what you said, we have
No.
a lot of money here.
no, and so the question is whether the market will support, 443 will buy something.
From what I've seen, what I've just been looking at, I
Yeah.
think, I
Yeah.
think it's pretty good. There were about 4 homes on the market.
Mhm.
But again, they all came on before I really knew what we had to work with, and we couldn't even navigate them.
Mm-hmm.
or look at them. And then when I did meet with she said they're all contingent
Yeah.
at that point. But there was one that was perfect, I think was 424.
So the way this would work, so you're selling a house on the Easton Housing Authority. I see your house come up, and instead of coming and look, I do the open house, I'm you.
Mhm.
And I come in, I say, here's my offer, it's a package, fill out the package.
Yeah. Pretty
So you
much.
have to,
It's kind of,
so, okay, I'm just saying,
Yes.
so you have to, obviously, this person has a representative. So we have to find out who that representative is before, it might be one of the real estate agents we've been working with.
Mhm.
And they would explain it to the customer, the seller.
Correct.
Okay,
And would encourage, hey, this is cash buyer, they can move quickly.
Sure.
You don't have to wait for funding and approval, and, you know, they can go in, and if you need time to move, we could afford you that. You know, if you need time to find another home,
right.
that would be, that's a plus.
All right. I was just trying to
Yeah.
envision how this works.
Oh, yeah, it took me a while, so whenever I
I'm
read
taking notes.
the head from DHCD that that's what I had to do, I'm like, what, huh? Because it's a packet, like you're bidding. Yeah. Mhm. It was a learning curve, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's unique, as you said,
Yes.
Chrisanne, that if, without this exception, and I don't know how they, I remember Paul writing something down, the sale of any property goes back to the Treasury, not the DHCD, to
Yeah,
the Treasury.
yeah.
That ain't happening.
No, plus the town stuff is we lose that affordable housing and you're trying to maintain your safe harbor, so.
Right.
So lose, yeah,
Right.
lose.
The beauty of it is that we were gaining one.
Yep.
All right,
And I do want to thank the Affordable Housing Trust. You know them well, I think you're part of it, correct?
Yes.
But yes, good news, $95,000, the entire amount that, in that account. So the entire amount that they could put there is there.
They do, as best they can.
Yeah, they do, and they're great. I mean, I've gone to a few of the meetings, I've attended with Chrisanne, and they're a great group of people who would like nothing more than see more affordable housing in town.
I've been very impressed with Wayne as he's come to our
Yes.
meetings.
Yes.
Yes, I've known Wayne a long time. He's really dedicated, very conscientious and thorough.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
I sincerely hope that we, the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners, can, find a house, and show and make a purchase, which will ultimately show our appreciation to the Affordable Housing Trust
Oh,
for their help.
absolutely. We'll have to have a grand,
Yes.
not a groundbreaking
There
per
you
se,
go.
but a ribbon cutting.
Yes.
any other questions or concerns regarding the HILAP grant update? Hearing none, we'll move forward to agenda item number 7. Nope, yep.
We already touched on
Nope,
that.
we already did agenda item number 8. HUD-1 form for 26 Pequonnet Avenue, sale February 13th, 2020.
So the money's in our bank,
It's in our bank.
done.
There you go. I just wanted everybody to see the form and the total on that.
I think that's nice.
Yep. John, as you said before, Pam would be very happy about that.
I think I lost a couple bets on that one. That actually happened.
All right, no more questions on that. Going to agenda item number 9, electricity contract rate savings. Current contract expires 5/2021. Updated rates provided on meeting day.
Yeah, those are what I put out in front of everybody. Was actually, right now, at 36 months, we're a tenth of a point lower than we currently are. The electric rate looks like it's going to trend up, and so our energy provider contacted me and said, is this something the board wants to entertain, is entering into a new contract that would not start until the expiration of the old one, being that the rate is again so low. At the 36 months, it's 0.0885 right now. That was today, at the 36 month.
And we've been with these guys for a couple years?
Yeah, this is our current contract, Proton, yes.
That's the broker.
Yes.
Right. And this NG North America, who we would now, do you know?
No. Oh, man.
It
I'm
doesn't
drawing a
matter.
blank. I'm drawing a blank right now.
So I'll just tell you my
Yeah.
philosophy on this. It's like, don't time the stock market. Right now, you're saying this is a tenth of a
Right.
cent lower per kilowatt. We know we can afford that on a regular basis. Even if it went down lower, I wouldn't be upset because we made a decision to insure against the risk of going up,
Mhm.
right? It's for budgeting, we're going into our budget year, we know that this will go down when's our contract up?
May of 21.
So 4 years, we're gonna have 4 years, they'll contract that out, so it's really a 48 month.
Yes.
Was it
No,
voted?
this,
No,
the
this
current
year is
contract we
existing.
had was
We've got one.
42 or 40, off the top of my head, I don't have that.
84.
But it was an odd number, it wasn't a
But it
normal
goes to
term.
May of 2021.
Of 21, yes.
And this would start in
On May or June,
of
when this
2000.
expired, it would give us another 36 months out.
So we're locking this up now.
Mhm.
Again, the price is good and
I know,
the budget's good. We know that we're gonna go bankrupt with pensions, OPEB, so.
No.
Well, maybe we'll save all kinds of money on this electrical.
We actually
Help
have
us
between
with
this
the
and the net
Yeah,
metering, we've done
the
very well.
Yeah, but the net
KCB's gonna
metering is
take
gonna
that.
come.
Yeah, well,
So
they
I
haven't
know
yet,
that.
but they will,
No,
I
I
know.
don't think so.
And while it's tax dollars, I mean, ultimately.
Yeah.
they will win.
Yeah, when is our 3 years up
After
on
we-
net metering that we're gonna have to start paying a share to them?
Last year,
Is this the last year?
no, they've extended it. So it's at their whim now, I guess.
Well,
That's encouraging.
mhm.
Their whim. See how that works.
Well, I'm with Tom. I agree that this is a very appetizing offer, this 36-month plan. I had put a little star next to that, the 0.0885. I think that's very good. I remember when we signed into the original contract of 0.0849, and we just thought that was just the best thing that we
Yeah.
could do then.
Mhm.
And this is only 0.0036 more.
Mhm.
I'd say we're moving in a good direction.
I guess the only risk, I've never heard of NG North America. They're gonna be around in 4 years?
I have no idea. I haven't heard, I've heard of Constellation, and I've heard of First Point, and Direct, obviously. Those are the only ones I've heard of.
Yeah. So,
That is a good question, the company, because we asked that when we signed in before.
I've never known an energy company.
We
that-
had the sales rep.
well,
Can we do that?
I think it was Constellation. Constellation were a company with that name.
Oh,
I know
really?
Brockton signed into it and they went out of business. We got a great deal. It was the best deal you've ever seen.
Oh,
It was
really?
so good they couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Too good to be true.
I recall we had the sales representative in, we put them on the hot seat and grilled them to,
Yeah.
validate the credibility of the
Mhm.
company, the longevity of the company, the stability of the company.
Yeah.
So could we do that now, again?
I think,
Well, you gotta move on, the rates, they can fluctuate
Yeah, I
tomorrow.
remember that.
Yeah,
If you don't do it today, if you
yeah.
wait until next
and
month, the rate
tomorrow
will be
you can
different.
look
I
at
remember
something.
that.
That's why, yeah. Like if the board
when I do these,
sees fit, I'd be moving on it tomorrow,
Yeah.
just to lock it in.
when I do these, and it is exempt, I'm told I have to make the decision by 3:30 that day.
He
I
tried
get told
that,
too.
and he
Yes.
tried that, I met with him last week. I said, no, I did bring it to my board.
Yeah.
And it dropped a little from last week to now,
To now.
so,
Fortunately.
yes, yep.
Well, I know we don't want to put it off another month, especially considering the possibility that we may not be meeting in a month, but I am curious who this NG North America is. What's their history? How long have they been in business?
How about
What are their sources?
we authorize Kathy to enter into an agreement once she asks those questions and receives assurances about the stability of the the company.
I asked for a sell sheet last time. I remember we got emailed one, didn't we? From the company?
What kind of sheet?
It's called a sell sheet. It's just a sheet that, it's like a resume or something. Just a sheet that talks about the statistics of the company. You know, convince us you're a valid company, you've been in business a long time, you're gonna still be in business in 10 years or 5 years.
So we're with Direct Energy.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we don't have any real information about NG.
So we did have a motion, do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
I guess if you look at this, Commissioner Witt, and the rest of the board, we're laying it on you, Kathy. They go out of business.
You know where I live?
No, seriously, I mean, it
Yeah.
is, do your due diligence.
Yep.
I do know the market moves, it might go down, we might, but it really does lay it on you to make sure you're comfortable with who this company
And
is.
if I'm not comfortable, I won't move forward.
Right.
Bring it back to the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Tebow, a second by Commissioner Woodruff. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Agenda item number 10, the Executive Director's Report. Well, I think there was just some discussion with the folks from Markham on turnover time. And what used to be a matter of a few weeks now is, we're looking at January 1st vacancies that are still sitting vacant.
Did you, that might be something you want to share with the board also, the stuff that Donna put out yesterday in that packet, where it talked about the average number of people that were being
Sent
contacted.
it by email today.
Oh, did she? I haven't seen it.
I didn't see that. Today she did?
Yeah, the packet's there. Or maybe she just sent it to the board, because I'm on the board. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It might be the board.
But it was good information, and it if you're, I don't know what the averages are, but if you're 452, right, that's $450 divided by 30, $15 a day. So every day added, and you're talking hundreds and hundreds of days over a period of a year. It's costing to go through this bureaucratic nut roll.
Let alone the postage, the time of the employees, the paper that was supposed to be reduced, and it's not.
Yeah, and the person who's waiting on the other end.
Correct. Oh, absolutely. Especially when you know you have a unit, you know where you're gonna wind up getting in that unit, because you see where they are on the list, and you know you're not gonna get responses from those other 30 people. However, you have to wait for those responses to come in before you can move. It's counterproductive to our mission to house people. It's as simple as that.
Truth.
Donna's doing a very good job. We have leased 2. We have another one that's going to be leased. She leased 2 last month, so she's moving. We've been getting slammed with vacancies too.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. And the guys are turning them over, and they're doing a great job. One of the units, we need to hire a company to come in because it was so bad. But we did that, and then we put the sheriff's department in there to kill the whole unit, and then the guys are going to work on that. But
And the garden club they're doing here, they doing anything over at least?
it was difficult to get them to do. I thought, right here, I picked because we have those tree stumps, and people are complaining about them, so we're gonna dig up what we can and make it a garden so people aren't walking through. So we can kind of throw some, guys will dig up the grass, we'll get some loam, throw it down, and they can do the plantings. I did speak to Faith from Rep. Cronin's office. We're still waiting on that funding from Rep. Cronin for the $75,000 to do improvements to the community room and whatnot at Lee Circle too. So they've been pressuring the secretary's office, I believe.
Secretary, yeah.
And we've sent letters, so, and they're looking into why the funding hasn't been released yet, so.
Is there anything on the roofs over there?
We had finally have an architect, we met with her on Friday, so that's gonna move forward. Yeah. I'd also like to, Corey, the veterans agent, had John's flag done and had a plaque put on it. And I'd like to possibly maybe put it up in this community room. But I thought if the board would like, maybe we could do a little gratitude towards him for his time on the board at the next meeting.
Sure.
It's in my office, but I just thought it would be nice for the residents to see, and
It's nice.
yeah, it's a nice, it's in the flag box with
Yeah.
this placard on it.
I think so.
And he didn't have a family, so I thought it might be nice to hang it in here.
We did a lot of work in here with the Meals on Wheels.
Yes,
and
he did,
Yeah.
volunteered,
The lunch
yes.
program, so.
Yep. So we can put that on the next agenda and have a little something beforehand?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
How's the septic over at
We're working on
Chandler
that.
Way? Yeah, we're working.
Yeah, we're working on that. Graves is involved in that.
Yeah.
I think they just got the soil test back and they're going into,
But we've no backups until the units or anything like that?
oh, no, it hasn't been that way.
Yeah.
No, it's just been the groundwater coming through
Through,
in
yeah.
that gully that's right there.
Mhm.
So, which might be causing some of the problems with the sinking and pavement.
Mhm.
Things haven't been as bad. We haven't had as much rain though, so everything's a little less flooding over there. or-
Sometimes it didn't matter if we had rain or not. It depended on the usage.
Oh.
Yeah, so, yeah, but that should be, I would
How
imagine
long-
we'll remedy that before fall.
I'll ask this again. Is there storm swales, culverts or drainages in the area that could be causing,
Well, it's next to
Inflow.
wetlands. We're right
yeah,
next, the
if there's a
leaching
storm,
field
it
is.
could be a storm culvert that has been, a tree fell, brush has built up, and it's causing, water to back
I
up.
think
It should
part of
be
it
flowing
is
into
the
wetlands.
sewer covers are not the right size that were installed.
Oh, yes, I
And
remember
water's
you
getting
saying
in
that.
there,
Yes,
so
they need to be
this will all
enlarged
be
and
addressed.
elevated.
And they might have to move the leaching field, where, I don't know, so that's where we have the professionals, and hopefully they do a better job this time.
Because how old is that system?
I don't know how old the system is, I know it was repaired in 2008. And I know that the tanks were barely used, we're gonna try to reuse those tanks.
Any other discussions or questions for the executive director? I would entertain a motion that we accept her report, put it on file.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 11, resident questions and comments.
Thank you.
That's it? You don't want to even hear it? Well, there might not be a next meeting, we're not sure. so.
That's what I'm wondering. They'll tell me.
Anything, ladies? All righty, next meeting, April. The second would be the 14th.
When's the town election?
24th, I believe,
Okay. Is that the
pretty sure, 24th to 28th.
Those days. Does that work for everybody?
What date was it? I'm sorry.
April
14th. April 14th.
Patriots Day is what, the 20th?
Yeah.
Fine with me, sure.
So we will meet on April 14th at 5 o'clock for our regularly scheduled meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.